right now on 5 on your side at 10.
Well, finally, after weeks upon weeks without widespread rain, it looks like we may start to notch into our drought issue. How much rain we're expecting overnight and how much of your Sunday that's going to impact.
The Sea of Pink taking over Tower Grove Park today. For the Susan G. Komen More Than Pink Walk, we share inspiring stories in the fight against breast cancer. But first tonight, a longtime baseball tradition comes to an end. Cardinals fans can now purchase alcohol 1 inning later. Reaction to the new policy at Busch Stadium.
I think it was definitely a good idea to expand it an extra inning. And at that point, you might as well expand it throughout the entire game.
Well, all is quiet at Busch Stadium tonight after a disappointing loss to the Cincinnati Reds. Good evening. I'm Brent Solomon. More on that in a moment. But first, Cardinals fans are savoring a new policy at the stadium, expanded alcohol sales. 5 on your side's Laura Bacheski explains for us.
Beer and baseball have always gone hand in hand.
It's an American tradition. You know, it's hot summer day, cold ultra. What's better than that?
And now St. Louis Cardinals fans can enjoy a few more cold ones through the end of the 8th inning when purchasing at bars and concession stands.
And I think people are here to have a good time, and I think people can be responsible with it, so I'm for it.
But in-seat alcohol service from vendors and mobile orders will still wrap up after the 7th inning. Some fans say a few extra beers are needed to maybe soften the blow of a rough game.
I think it's a good idea, especially because of how bad we are. Definitely a smart plan considering the fans that have stayed that late throughout the game. I think we deserve a little bit more booze throughout the game, if you ask me.
Another reason to extend alcohol sales is because of the changes to the game, making it a lot shorter through the 8th inning.
Today's game specifically felt like a normal game, but I understand, the games are closer to 2.5 hours, so I think it's great. With them being a little bit shorter, it's kind of difficult to tell people, an hour and a half in, like, hey, we're done.
Numbers from the team show 7 innings of an average home game in 2022 lasted 144 minutes, whereas 8 innings of an average game this year with the new pitch clock lasted 147 minutes.
I think it should have been expanded a long time ago. I think it was definitely a good idea to expand it an extra inning, and at that point, you might as well expand it throughout the entire game. It's just one more inning.
But alcohol or not, win or lose, Busch Stadium is always going to be baseball heaven to dedicated Cardinals fans.
Always a good time here, always leaving happy. Fans are the best in baseball, the team's the best in baseball. I don't care what their record says, they're always the best to watch.
Reporting from Busch Stadium, Laura Barcheski, 5 on your side.
And the team encourages fans to get a safe ride home through what's called the Responsible Fan Program. You can plan in advance and earn rewards for making safe choices. Let's go ahead and get to your weather first forecast now. We have some images coming in, live images from St. Charles tonight. Rain has started to move into the bi-state, and it's a welcome sight for many of you, hoping that your lawns will start to green up. Meteorologist Gary Frank now with much more. Hey, Gary.
Yeah, good evening, Brent. We're trying to find some rain. It's starting to pop up closer to the metro, and it's been kind of hung in the western areas, which honestly have needed the rain a little bit more. They're in more of a severe drought. As we look at St. Charles, it's clear, it's still dry. And Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell texted me that he got 18 raindrops. So we're still struggling to get some raindrops for the west, and we're working on that. What we'll continue to see here is this wide area of rain, and that's why we're so excited about it, because it's actually our best bet at more than just, hey, this is an isolated shower storm settling in. There are a few spots to the west, like I mentioned, in Gasconade County and Herman, and areas even outside of our viewing area that are in more desperate need of rain. However, Wildwood, Eureka, High Ridge, these areas are starting to see a few pop-up storms, even in South County near Arnold. That's good news for us as our temperatures are still hanging in the 80s. It's pretty sticky outside. We've noticed this number's gone up from 56. If you joined us at 5 and 6, it was in the 40s. These numbers going up, that's important for us overnight. We're not going to drop that far, 68 degrees. Scattered storms, showers and thunderstorms. We'll track those for you as they get closer to the metro and talk about what your Sunday looks like ahead.
All right, we'll see you soon. You can stay up to date on your weather first forecast all the time. Text the word weather to 314-425-5355. Well, there's new information tonight on a deadly shooting in North St. Louis County. Police say it started as an attempted robbery. It was just before 2 this afternoon outside of a BP gas station on North Hanley Road in Berkeley. Investigators say someone tried to rob a man and then got into a fight that led to gunfire. The victim died at the hospital. The shooter took off in a car. Anyone with info should contact police or Crime Stoppers at 866-371-TIPS. St. Louis County Police investigating a deadly shooting in Jennings. It happened around 11:40 last night at a home on Janet Avenue near Lena. Officers found a man dead inside. Police have not identified the victim or any suspects. Anyone with info is asked to call police or remain anonymous by also contacting Crime Stoppers. Tonight, authorities are investigating a deadly crash in downtown St. Louis. This was the scene just before 4 this morning at Tucker Boulevard and Spruce Street. 5 people inside of the car had to go to the hospital. One of them died. The other 4 victims are seriously hurt. Right now, police don't know what caused that crash. Tonight, we have an update on Janae Edmondson, the Tennessee teen who lost her legs when a car crashed into her in downtown St. Louis. Her family says she is scheduled for another surgery come Monday. That happens to be her 18th birthday. The family says it's another step towards her getting her prosthetic legs. The Edmondson family asking everyone to keep her in your prayers as she recovers. Well, thousands of people gathered in Tower Grove Park this morning to support breast cancer fighters and survivors. The 25th annual Susan G. Komen More Than Pink Walk celebrates Komen's impact in our area, and it's a big one. 5 on your side's Mercedes McKay breaks it down.
The love and support could be felt throughout the air as thousands came together to celebrate breast cancer survivors while also remembering the ones whose lives were cut short by the disease. Everyone walking in hopes of ending breast cancer forever.
A sea of pink filled Tower Grove Park on Saturday as fighter after fighter walked side by side.
She is proud to be able to walk today for those who can't.
Among the crowd, it was hard to miss the Coleman family in their matching squad shirts.
We've been doing this for many years.
But this year's Susan G. Komen Walk was personal.
Janelle was diagnosed in August of 2022.
Now, every step this squad takes is for their very own fighter, a wife and mom.
We got just a couple more months to go, and then she's going to be ringing the bell.
Janelle giving all that credit to self-checks and mammograms.
I was able to catch it on my own early and have early treatment, and which saved my life.
Early detection that is now easier than ever to receive.
We kind of been missing in action for the last 3 years, but we're back. We're better than ever.
Mercy Hospital's MAM van is hitting the roads again, providing breast cancer screening for women 40 and older.
We have 3D equipment, brand new coach build. We're really proud and excited about it.
Traveling not only around St. Louis, but to Jefferson, Lincoln, and Franklin counties.
Serving the community that doesn't have the luxury of just picking up and going whenever. We come to you.
With every woman that comes in, coordinator Kelly Rodabaugh dedicates it all to her own fighter, her cousin, Angie Wiggin.
This is for her. Everything I do is with her in mind because every patient to me is Angie.
Using resources like the ones in this van, their hope is to have more families like the Colemans cross that finish line together.
It touches every one of us.
You must schedule an appointment with the Mercy MAM van. If you don't have insurance, you could bring a proof of income, and you may qualify for a free mammogram. We have all the information on how to schedule that appointment on our website, KSTK.com, under the As Seen on TV section.
All right, thank you, Mercedes. This morning's walk, by the way, raised more than $280,000. Our very own Kay Quinn emceed that event.
Sprucing up North St. Louis, the collaboration to clean up North Grand.
We're all working together to pitch in, get our hands dirty, but make the community better.
How this effort is one part of a major project across the city. Tonight, the man known as the Unabomber is dead. What we're learning about Ted Kaczynski's final hours behind bars.
Orange air quality alert again. We're only supposed to have a couple of weeks of them per year, but it looks like our next pattern over the next 24 hours with rain will start to improve this. How much rain we're expecting overnight and when our air is a little clearer.
Tonight, the city has lifted that precautionary boil advisory for parts of South St. Louis. A 20-inch water main broke late Friday morning. This was at Chippewa Street in Donovan. Water crews did several tests and confirmed that water is not contaminated and is safe to drink. Repairs wrapped up this afternoon. Today, a group of volunteers coming together to clean up a part of North City. Great Rivers Greenway hosted a beautification event along North Grand Avenue. Volunteers spent a few hours picking up trash between Natural Bridge Road and Finney Avenue. Now, this is also the future route of the Brick Line Greenway, which would connect the city's 4 major parks.
It's a major infrastructure project that is going to beautify the area and also create opportunities for safety, for conservation, for places to gather, places for community to walk, ride a bike, push a stroller or a wheelchair.
The Brick Line Greenway is expected to be finished in the next 5 to 10 years.
Well, we're starting to see some rain come in from the west, and it's all part of this system that's gradually working from the other side of the state. But when will it bring more widespread rain to more people? We're already tracking that for you here coming up in just a couple of minutes.
Tonight, the man known as the Unabomber has died. Theodore Ted Kaczynski was found unresponsive in a cell just after midnight. The Harvard-educated math professor admitted to 16 bombings from 1978 to 1995. 3 people were killed, 23 others seriously hurt. In 1995, Kaczynski sent a word essay to the FBI explaining his motives, which became known as the Unabomber Manifesto. It was his own brother who suggested to investigators Ted might have been the bomber.
It wouldn't have been right to allow him to hurt anyone else. He had to be stopped in some way, and that was the only way I could think to stop him.
Tonight, the FBI is investigating Kaczynski's death. Sources tell the New York Times he died by suicide. Tonight, Donald Trump is blasting his historic federal indictment as being baseless. The former president in Georgia today making his first public appearance since the 37 criminal charges were unsealed. Trump says the indictment is a result of a weaponized Justice Department.
The ridiculous and baseless indictment of me by the Biden administration's weaponized Department of Injustice will go down as among the most horrific abuses of power in the history of our country.
In the unsealed indictment, Trump is accused of willfully defying the Justice Department's demands to return classified documents. Trump is set to appear in federal court in Miami on Tuesday. Today, President Biden is celebrating Pride Month with a celebration at the White House. Hundreds of people gathered on the South Lawn for what the Biden administration said is the largest Pride event held at the White House. The president telling the crowd America needs to push back against what he calls, quote, callous and cynical bills and laws that target the transgender community. Gotta love a good step team. Juneteenth is more than a week away, but the Del Mar Loop had an early celebration. Families came out today to kick off the holiday with live art and music, food, and shopping. The official Juneteenth will take place on Monday, June 19th. Well, it felt like the 1950s in downtown Edwardsville today. The city hosting its 25th annual Route 66 Festival at City Park. The festival brings classic cars and great food, local art, and live music all to one location. If you'd like to check it out, festivities end at 11:30, so you have some time there. Well, meteorologist Gary Frank joining us now with your Weather First forecast. That event looked like the weather held up. Some parts of our area, though, saw a little bit of rain today.
Yeah, and we're starting to see that. Most of it was after sunset. And, you know, just when we saw you at 5 and 6, we were starting to see the signs of it. And now that whole system is working its way across. And we'll start from west to east, and we look in St. Charles, and this camera is still dry. And I expect to stay that way. You still see the breeze picking up a little bit. We also have dry conditions right now, 81 degrees, east-southeast breeze at about 10 miles an hour. That's helping with some of the local air quality. This number's coming up, and as it starts to get in the 60s, I'll show you. But we got to 88 today. Our normal is 85, so we're above average on both accounts. It's still a little cool in the morning because we've started off dry. These numbers have been in the 40s and 50s. I'll start off this morning, and that's why it was just a touch warmer this morning. This number started to go up, and you'll watch these numbers in the 60s here. Look at the surge of moisture. That's where this moisture and this rain chance is starting to come from. We've lacked this over the last few rain chances, and so anytime it's rained, yeah, locally it's gotten heavy, but not too much. It hasn't lasted too long. This has a better opportunity to give us widespread rain. We have this cold front that's settling in. You can see that from north to south, clearing us out, but that's also going to interact with this localized system here, which is delivering showers and thunderstorms locally. And that's where I want to take you here from Gasconade County to Franklin County. There are a few pop-up showers and storms which have started to pop up, and they're not really widespread, but this is where we've seen most of the rain. This is how I think it's going to look briefly and into the overnight hours until tomorrow morning. But we've also started to see pockets of heavy rain like this. This is what you want to see. And I think you'll see more of these by tomorrow, where we get a few bursts of heavy rain. You'll get a quick quarter to a third of an inch. You get a break, and then another burst of heavy rain where you get a tenth to a quarter of an inch. And that's how it's going to add up for us throughout the day on Sunday. I do want to look more locally here as into the city. This has really started to develop from Wildwood, 109 all the way to Chesterfield, into the Chesterfield Valley, Baldwin, Ellisville, Valley Park, even in Fenton as well. This is spreading out a little bit. This is where I think you're going to see more rain here over the next couple of hours as it works its way in. More storms like that through Sunday morning. And then by noon, I think this front moves through and we're pretty much done with the rain completely. Temps in the upper 60s, though. It's going to be much warmer than it has been over the last few mornings. And as that continues to push out, once that front moves through, we dry out. It's much, much cooler. We're going to struggle to get above 75 tomorrow, but look at some of the rainfall totals. Like I mentioned, tenth of an inch, quarter of an inch here and there, and then we're going to add up nicely to maybe about an inch or more in some locations. So 73 tomorrow, storms especially early. I think by 2 or 3 o'clock, we're done with that, but it's not going to warm up much. 77 on Monday, cooler, much below average, and then we're back into the 90s as we head into next week, but we're going to dry out again. So this is going to be a nice welcome. This is not going to end our drought by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a nice welcome sight for a lot of us. It's been very dry recently.
Yeah, very much so. Thank you much.
Yep.
All right, we've got Holden in for Corey, and you've got a lot to cover tonight.
Yeah, I'm coming off the bench tonight, and it's a big night in the sports where the Cardinals' struggles continue at home against the Reds, and history is made in the world of horse racing. Stick around. I've got the highlights and more coming up after the break.
The Sports Desk is sponsored by Jim Butler Chevrolet, the Midwest's #1 Chevy dealer 10 years running.
After losing today's game against the Reds 8-4, the Cardinals are currently stuck in the cellar of the National League, and watching them play at times is, well, it's like going to watch my neighbor's 8-year-old play Little League. They're just out there picking daisies. Now, if you don't believe me, let's check the highlights. In the third, the Cards trailed 3-0 when the ball is hit directly at Jordan Walker, and he dives and misses it. The ball goes all the way to the wall, and a run would come in, and a few batters later. The very next inning, the Cardinals would trail 4-0 when Brendan Donovan's going to get an easy ground ball right out of the inning, right? Well, he promptly bounces it to Paul Goldschmidt. That's an error. But the real story of this game, though, was the Cards' struggles against Red starter Andrew Abbott. In just his second Major League start, he went 5 2/3, striking out 5, walking 4, while gently keeping the Cards' hitters off balance.
It's one thing to study it and be prepared for it. It's another thing to actually see the arm in real action in the batter's box and see him a couple times through, and familiarity matters. The guys will talk about that often, but at the end of the day, you got to figure out a way to score.
This 5 on Your Side St. Louis City SC coverage is sponsored by Together Credit Union.
Well, the Cardinals have struggled through most of their season. Just down Market Street, the boys at City SC are giving fans a big reason to smile. This Western Conference matchup on Sunday features two teams that are quite literally polar opposites. City SC currently sits at the top of the league, having scored 3 or more goals in 8 of their 15 games. Meanwhile, the Galaxy are currently at the bottom of the league and just lost striker Chicharito for the season to a torn ACL. Manager Bradley Carnell says his squad will be ready, thanks in part to their not-so-secret weapon.
We have something special in the league, for sure, with our crowd, and we know what we have here, and we know it helps us. We know it helps energize the group. It just keeps us going. We go with the way we play. We fall into moments of little ebbs and flows from fatigue, and then it just helps us get out. And that minute we feel that little drop, right, it's always good, and it's always comforting to get the fans on our side.
States League trophy. Matthew Tkachuk and the Florida Panthers are looking to even up the Stanley Cup final tonight in Miami, but the Vegas Golden Knights, well, they went full tilt. 1 minute and 39 seconds into the game, Chandler Stevenson gets Vegas on the board first, right down the middle for the early lead. Fast forward to the second period, And the Knights are going to stay on attack. And once again, it is Stevenson with the one-timer. 2-0 Vegas lead. Now the Knights would make it a 3-0 lead before Florida would get on the board, but I have to show you this. Look at it, hits not one, but 2 Golden Knights. Gary, if me and you were playing on Xbox, I'm hitting reset after that because I knew you cheated if that to happen. But Florida would hang on for this one. Excuse me, Vegas would hold on in this one. They would win by a final of 3-2. And there's no Triple Crown runner this year in horse racing, but that didn't make the finish at Belmont any less entertaining. Arcangelo took the lead at the top of the stretch and won the Belmont Stakes by a length and a half. And the win actually made a little history for trainer Jenna Antonucci, who became the very first female trainer to win the race in 155 years.
Oh, wow.
It's really neat to see that, especially since a couple days ago they didn't know if they were going to run with the poor air quality out there.
Yep, and now look, making history.
Exactly.
All right, thank you, my friend. Gary, take it away.
Well, we still got some rain, and it's starting to pop up a little bit more. I think we might encounter it on some of our drives, or if you're going outside right now for a late evening stroll, I think you're going to deal with some light rain here, and it's starting to pick up. In fact, in Chesterfield Valley, close to the radar site, it's starting to pick up a little bit more. So you're going to get a quick 1/10 of an inch of rain, maybe a quick 1/4 of an inch. We'll get a break. It's showers and storms like this that will develop and move through overnight. This is not going to rain on you all night, but you will run into periods of rain, not only throughout the overnight hours, but the first part of Sunday, even into the early afternoon. Much needed rain. I think a lot of us are going to get at least a 1/2 inch, and some totals locally higher than an inch.
Yeah, like you said earlier, we need not complain about this rain.
Right, absolutely. This is good, and the overnight timing is always a nice thing for us as well.
Yep, very much. Thank you. That's all of our time at 10. Saturday Night Live is next. Join us tomorrow for Today in St. Louis, starting at 6 a.m. Have a great one.